So what we're going to do, everyone, is I'm going to go through the outline of the assignment and go through every single important part that is necessary that I'm looking for. I mean, it's hardly possible that a group of 4 intelligent minds coming together will do anything crazy. But guess what? It happens every now and then. Somebody surprised me. Our group surprised me. So let us make sure we get everything we want in order. 2 things before I get through the part that I highlighted. Congrats on your assignment. And for those who got A and A pluses and all those good grades, no, I didn't have them given away, and it wasn't Christmas. You did an extremely good job. And I can tell you, I've had times where I've had to send back executive summary to students because it's a mess. So just know that you did an excellent job and you deserve all those good grades that you received. That's number one. Number two, I think I said it to you before, but I'm going to make sure I highlighted it again. The next 3 weeks are sometimes my favorite part of this course. Why? Because this is where I get to learn and you all get to learn from each other. So I want to encourage you. The next 3 weeks, though you're only presenting one of those 3 weeks, it's not a time to say, oh, well, I presented, let me go about my business and chill. You are going to miss, and I don't fight anybody over this, but I can tell you, you will never leave this course full and prepared if you do not engage in every single presentation. This is where the learning is happening. There's so much happening. No matter how many years I teach this course, every single group, when they present, always share something new, something dynamic, something amazing that we all walk away thinking, wow, now that was good. We learned something else. And you're going to notice the word toolbox comes up quite a bit because that is why we do this course. As a matter of fact, years ago when I taught this course, I spread these assignments out over like 9 weeks of the course. So although I was lecturing, every week there'll be a group who is presenting and we share that kind of stuff. So it's a learning. So let's go through quickly. I know you have met already, you have had your ideas. So the first one is, I got this question maybe 3 different persons in 3 different groups. Canadian context. What does that mean? Canadian context. We're speaking about Canada. We're focusing on Canada. What does mean is that you don't need to have all the readings written by Canadian authors and Canadian scholarly work. It's just that the context. Let me give you an example. Somebody presented on LGBTQ 1 year, and every single thing was about America. Every single thing was about the American context. So if you're using an American article, that's not a problem. I have no issue with that. But how do you make sure you relate that to the Canadian context? That is what you're supposed to know as a graduate student. So Canadian context, please do not send me an email. No, the paper don't need to be written by Canadian people. It doesn't have to focus on Canadian, K to 12 classrooms. What it means is that you're focusing on the discussion is on the Canadian context. So yes, you may read an article or use an article that is from a writer who is Caribbean or Australian or American. I have no issue with that. But how are you going to make sure that comes into the Canadian context? So that is what it means. I want you all to read the assignment properly. Someone sent me a question about scholarly article. There's nowhere in this article it says the articles must be scholarly. There is nowhere in the assignment it says that. So what you're doing is telling me you're not reading the assignment. I know I sound a little bit harsh, but I want you to read. It says clearly, this could be book chapters and other things may not be used. Students will use 4 scholarly readings. For this assignment, book chapters may also be used. So for this assignment, you can use a book chapter as well for this assignment, okay? Because in your research 1, book chapters are not considered scholarly assignment. For this one, it states clearly you could use a book chapter as well, all right? Designated folders. Remember the readings we're doing this week, this time around, they are also from you. So if you're just remember that when we do let me share my total screen this time. Just remember that you're going to be asked to do to place the things in the reading. So these are your group presentation readings. So if you're presenting next week, class 9, then you're responsible for putting your readings in the box, in the link, at least 48 hours before. Make sure we get our readings and maybe any other thing that you want to share with us. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, because there are many times when a group puts their reading in, but they also want to share certain things with us. And that is fine. Okay. If you have an article, an extra article, if you have an activity that you want to put in before because you want a person to do something before, we're going to get to that. So let's get into the presentation. You have 30 minutes. How are you going to use your 30 minutes? That's totally up to you. But take a note that you must begin your presentation with a mind's on an introductory activity. So you're not going to start by saying, today is our presentation and we're going to be doing this and this is our format, and then you're done. You have to give us some form of activity. 153 asks some beautiful questions, and people are asking, how long is the activity? Up to you. How long is a mind's on? It could be 2 minutes, it could be 3 minutes, it could be 5 minutes. It's up to you to decide how you are planning your work, right? The presentation should include a brief summary of the articles. I put 3 asterisks there because this is where the challenge lies in certain groups in the past. And I've had groups where they have gotten a lower grade because I simply put on it, this is clear that this group needed to rehearse, or there's no synergy in the group, or more work needed in preparation. Why do I say that, Rika? Because one person sharing their article and they take 2 minutes or 4 minutes. Another person comes on and take 8 minutes out of a 30 minutes. There's no way you could have rehearsed that and planned that properly. And there's such a disparity. So I want you to think about what you're doing and how you're getting that done. You got to decide on the timing, and you plan and rehearse your timing. Now, here comes the one I put in red, because a number of groups had missed this a couple of years ago. An original, the word is original, graphic representation showing connections between the 4 articles. And this is a single slide. Okay, so you have to put some form of graphic, some form of writing up, some form of dynamics. You'll see samples in a minute of what people have done to show the connections between the articles. And that is why you need to make sure the articles do connect. No, they don't have to all 4 connect. Sometimes they don't have to all 4 connect. It's almost impossible to get that done. But you can see the examples, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. Also, 3 to 5 salient points that you want to focus on. Take a note that it says 3 to 5. 5 is the required. Sorry, 3 is the required. 3 is what is required. People go up to 4 or 5. Every year I have somebody saying to me, Dr. Campbell, I found 3, 4 or 5. Can we share? I said, yes, it's fine. But 3 is the requirement. So yes, if you have 3, that's fine. You have gained you have done what is necessary. But 3 to 5. And where you introduce these is up to you. I have had groups that introduce their 3 to 5 salient points at the beginning. I have had groups who have introduced it after the articles. It's up to you to decide on your flow. Nobody is going to do the same thing the same way. Here comes a very big one. So there must be some form of interactive, notice the choice of word, and these words were bolded long ago. Interactive and pedagogical learning experience. What does that mean? So for this part, if you're going to share a presentation and nowhere in the presentation your audience gets to participate or to do something, then I have not gotten interaction and I have not gotten a pedagogical learning experience. So you decide, and this is of course separate from your mind's on, at what point of the presentation do you do an activity where everybody's going to learn from the activity or gain from the activity, and you follow up that with your toolbox. What does this simple mean? I love this course and another course that I teach because every time when we finish this course, I have tons of students who say to me, Dr. Campbell, we really got so many good ideas. And guess where we're going to use them? On practicum. Of course, you're going to use them on practicum. So just imagine you watching 10 groups or 11 groups present. So now, Harrison, you have 11 minds on ideas. You have 11 graphic representations. You have 11 interactive pedagogical learning experience. And you have more than 11 new ideas to add to your toolboxes. What my job is, and that's why I love this course, my job is not to give you an A+ or an A. You can get that. The job is when you leave this course, you got so much more to take back to practicum, to take into your, I still have students who are saying to me, oh, Dr. Campbell, the idea we use in one of our courses, I'm using that idea in my teaching. I'm now an LTO at the TDSB, or I'm LTO in Halton, and I'm using this and I'm using that. That's how it works. That's why we are so big on the word toolbox. If you look at any one of my videos, you hear I use this word so often, because you're supposed to leave Teachers College with toolboxes. You're supposed to leave here, Conrad. You're supposed to leave here, Brian. You're supposed to leave here, Farah, with so many more ideas that you can go ahead and use in your own classes, Tallinn, in your own teaching, in your own classrooms. So that is what we're doing. We're building each other. So that is it, okay? Now, let me show you some ideas of what. Somebody's mic is on.
What? No, yeah.
Somebody's mic is on. Okay.
Sorry.
So let me give you a few ideas of what people have done. Of course. So here we go. People love to do the agenda. It's always good practice to say where we're going with the presentation for the day. 30 minutes. You take less than 5 seconds to do this. You show them that. And so these are different people you have used. So I love this idea of let's ground ourselves. So this person used some form of magical pole. They do their stuff. So this is their minds on. And let me just say this, Laura. I want all of us to grow from this. I have been on practicum in the fall, and I can tell you, and I've been on practicum for many years in the fall. And when people are new, you know, we take it easy on you, but persons do the just basic. I have seen some minds on, it's just plain old basic. So your job is to get all the ideas you can from this Brian and Farah and Alex. Save up all the ideas. Can I tell you, Brian, can I tell you how many ideas I have learned from my own students? And I write them down in my notepad, in my notebook, and I use them. So this is the kind of ideas people are doing, right? And I think they ground some different kind of interactive stuff. Oh, let me say this. So remember we said about, let me go to that. Remember I mentioned the fact that in this box here, your presentation, there are people sometimes who put other things in it. So let me give you what I mean by that. Let's say you have a minds-on activity, but you would want your students, which is going to be us, of course, you want the students to do something before the presentation. So we have had in the past, somebody's mic is on still, someone's mic is on. I'm surprised that we are in online environment and we don't realize our mic is on. All right, so let's say you're doing this activity, Chloe. Let's say you have this great minds on, but you need them to do something before the actual minds on begins because it's going to take long. So we have had in the past people put links in their readings. They have done different things. So you're free to do that. Let's say you want them to do something before because you want the results to use in the activity. Do all of that inside where you put your readings. And that is why I do not put readings for those weeks. Not because I don't have readings. I could give you tons of reading unnecessarily, by the way. But I need you to focus on the readings from your peers. And just so you know, Farah, in the years past, I have always found some of the best readings, Allison, from what you have placed in, and I use them the other years to come. So here's a hint for you, Allison. When you go through the other, how many groups posting their readings, look at the readings, Allison. and downloads one that you're going to want to use for yourself in your classrooms. This is a amazing opportunity for us to gather stuff and learn from each other. And that is why I do this. And that is why I will never change this assignment, because we just grow. We just grow from this. So that is what happens. And then people have their introduction. People do, you notice this one? They use the salient questions at the beginning and they turn them in questions, by the way. This was not a required. They just turn them into questions. That's how you teach. Don't have to ask me, sir, can I put my salient points in question? That is teaching, right? And then they went into their readings. Anybody notice that this group used, I think it's 3 slides per reading? This is not standard. This is their choice. One group used 4 slides per reading. One group used 1 slide per reading. There is no requirement. You get to decide. And they color coded their stuff. You see the difference? Right? That's up to you to decide. Notice the idea that each group member have to do a reading, that's up to you. I don't care about that, because I have seen groups where one person did 2 readings and another person did this, another person did that. One person created all the different graphic, because there ain't no way you could do a graphic unless you know the readings, right? Because we have seen that a graphic that is ridiculous because the person who did the graphic don't know the readings. So I pick up on things. That's my job. I'm trained to do that. So look at this connection. Anybody notice the connections? Alison, are you noticing this? So this is where the 4 readings now connect. Now notice that I use a color code. I was impressed with this. And I have other words that's impressive. Notice they use a color code for this. So you're saying, so please do not send me an email saying, Dr. Campbell, does all the reading have to connect? There's hardly anywhere where everything is going to connect. But you have the magic. So if you notice that one about CRP to better support Black students, only 2 of the blocks are there. One place have 4 blocks, one person have 3, one person have 3. So that's how it is. But this is well done. Just so you know, this here is an A+ connection. It was clear, the connections. Because Tallinn in the past, I have had connections that were not done properly. I can tell you that. And look at the resource. So they use a resource. Anybody notice the link to the Jamboard? The interaction happened here. The interaction happened here. Pedagogical interaction. Do not write me and ask me the meaning. You're teachers. You're going to be teachers. All right? Interaction. Let's look at another one. So this one, I love this mental health one. Focusing on indigenous ways of learning. I love this one. And they did the land acknowledgement. Now, I know somebody's going to ask, do we all have to do land acknowledgement? No. Many times what they decide is that the group that is going to go first will start with a land acknowledgement. But if you insist you want to do that in your 30 minutes, it's up to you. It takes less than a minute, but it's not a mandatory thing, okay? But people have gone to the levels knowing what they're going to do. Now look at that. You see what I'm talking about? When I say interaction, look at this Menti. They begin with a Menti. Now remember, I'm telling every single person in the presentation will have access to share their screen. So what I do, I give everybody access to share their screen. So you don't have to ask me, everybody gets access. So how you're going to flow, it's up to you. If you want one person to move a slide, everybody move their own slide when it's time. That's your business. That's not mine. One thing I will tell you is that because it's the group, the Zoom group belongs to me, the Zoom link, I am the one that's in charge of the groups. So all I need to do is one person in the group send me a message at the beginning of the presentation. Just send me a quick message to say, Dr. Campbell, we're going to need 5 groups. That's all. We're going to need 5 groups. I don't put names in group. It's random. We're going to need 3 groups. We're going to need 4 groups, breakout rooms. And you just tell me when to open and when to close. That's it. Nothing else I do for you, because everything else you do have control over. But I know you can't set up your own groups because it's not your Zoom. And having breakout room is not something that's mandatory. There are people who have done presentation without breakout rooms because they're created different ways. All right. So I just want to show you all the great ideas. You need to come with even better ideas. I know this is a coincidence, Alison, the second person using salient questions again. It was just a thing that time. People into questions more than statements, but it's not mandatory. just salient points. They chose to put them in questions. And I actually loved it that way. Notice this person used a book chapter, right? Good. Notice that. And they did their stuff. And notice they did their stuff. And that's just it. You decide. You decide. People use videos, people use key points, people do all kind of stuff. It's up to you. You're teaching us your job. Now look at this one, Allison. Isn't this juicy? Isn't this juicy, Allison? I know, Allison, you're looking at me like, because I can see you're looking, Allison, like, oh, Dr. Campbell, this is too much. It's not. But I want to show you something, Allison. Take a look at the stars. And I do this on purpose because I want you to see that there are readings with only 1 stars. So the idea that you need to thread everything needle through, it's impossible. But I want you to notice that the 4 readings are color coded and the ideas came out. There are 4 ideas that came out into different parts. It's how they great minds come together, going to make magic. That's it. So I've look at this breakout activity. They did a leaf and trees and minds on. They were just showing off, and I loved every bit of it. And they used their time wisely, and they were done. Okay, and that is how it is done. Let me show a last one, and we're done after this. And this one did a grounding act. What I love this is because they're looking at residential school, they use the word grounding for their activity. And it's a whole activity they did. I would never forget. I think they used 5 minutes of their presentation for this. It was so good. It's up to you. Another group used 2 minutes. It's up to you. When you're teaching is different. No 2 classes are the same. I'm sure you learned that lesson well on practicum. And I'm sure you remember, Alice, in the days you went to school and you were ready to teach and something happened or the principal turned on the mic and it's a whole different story, right? That is school. That's why I said to you all, don't be so rough on yourselves. School, I've been around 26 years in school. This September make 26. Schools are different. I love how they gave us the vocabulary. I love how they reviewed it with us. I love this. I love how they did the hills. They are very big on the hurt and the grounding. Beautiful, beautiful. There is question again. It was a question thing, eh? I just noticing that. And they did their readings and their highlights. Their readings and their highlights. People do different things. This is what they do with their connections. They did a reading and the highlights. The reading. Look at this. Their resource box. They gave us stuff. So when we said toolbox, Allison, I want you to understand you just need to give us stuff for toolbox. And give us stuff could mean an art. Don't give us article. We don't want to read no article again, child. Give us something to use. People give us, ideas. People give us 2 videos. Give us stuff. So when I said add things to toolbox, you don't need to do nothing more than give us 1 or 2 things that we can use later on. Let me give you a good example, Alison, of what I remember last time we did this. I remember when we were doing pronouns and the change of pronouns, Allison, one group that gave us, I think it was from Halton school board. Somebody at the school board had created this like a 3-page pamphlet about pronouns and just gave it to us. That was a tool. They gave it to us. That was a tool. I remember there's a bunch of people in Peel who gave us an annotated bibliography of books and words. I think I shared it with you as well. And somebody gave us that 1 year. So different people give us different things. You may go somewhere and see the best video ever. Like this 15 minutes video, Dr. Campbell, is just like the bee's knees for talking to kids or talking to grade 4 kids about inclusion, and you're doing cultural relevant or you're doing something and you want to use that. Perfect. It may be this really good one about religion or Muslim or Jewish or whatever. That's whatever you want to give us. That is your toolbox. They did another breakout room group attempting to end the class. They gave us additional thoughts. And of course, they're being dramatic as usual. Give us a boat to tell us thank you for participation. I just love when people are extra because they know I like extra, right? So that is what it's all about. And this is what it looks like. So so every group will get their grading sheet. Their grading sheet look like this. Take a note, Talin, that every single part of the assignment is listed there, and I put the grade there, and I put additional comments. So yes, I'm looking forward to seeing the pieces. I'm looking forward to seeing the pieces. And I know you see quite a bit of A+. I know somebody's saying, Dr. Campbell, has anybody ever gotten less than an A+ for group presentation? What if I tell you one group got a B+ or an A-? You'd be surprised, right? I don't know what happened in the group. I guess there was some form of infighting, but the work was not done. The work was not done. And I was like, yeah, and I could see it, Farah. From the presentation started, you could see people trying to find their way through. Nobody know who is next. You could see it. And then, of course, I got an email, Farah, with a tears in the email. Brian, you could know the person's email me, they're crying. All that needs to be done before the presentation. I don't have time for all of that when the presentation is happening, because that's not going to change the grade. Your job is to do well and to do it well. Any quick question before we go? I think I've covered it all, but always there's going to be a better question, because my brain is only my brain. So I need Farah brain, Alice's brain, and Brian brain, and Laura brain. Anything that you were wondering that wasn't covered, anybody raise your hand quickly to ask me. I'm recording this, as I said, because I want the other group to get it. Yeah, I've been really sick, really bad. Any question, Farah? Any question, Alex? We're good. Now, here is the invitation, and don't feel bad about this one. If tonight, this evening, Chloe, you got up and you go, oh, Dr. Cameron maybe never covered this. Let me ask, especially if the entire group is asking the same question, please send me a quick email. Dr. Campbell, the entire group was wondering if, just send it to me. I will respond. Don't feel like you're burdening me or anything, because if everybody has the same question, then it needs to be answered, okay? Otherwise, let me just stop the recording.